Welcome to the Navigating Your Life show. I'm your host, Nat Williams. Tonight we're going to take a look at ways to reinvent yourself later in life. Various circumstances require us to shift gears and to move towards a different pathway. Our goal is to give you some tools to do just that. Recently, we had the opportunity to sit down with Ms. Lori Haller, and here's what she had to share. Lori, thank you so much for joining us today as we start our conversation with you about reinventing yourself later in life. Why don't you share with our viewers a little bit of your story?
Well, I worked with a family business for 20 years in sales, and we did new construction here in the Lehigh Valley. With the downturn of the economy, my husband and I decided that it would be better if maybe we diversified. And so I got the chance to come back to school, which is a goal that I always had, and earned my college degree.
Good. And what do you plan on doing with that college degree?
I would like to teach secondary education, and I would like to teach social studies in particular.
Wow. And how do you feel about coming back to this later in life to do something that you probably wanted to do earlier?
At first I was scared to death, but once I jumped and took the chance, it is a blessing.
Wow.
It has been a great experience for me.
And tell us more about that experience and what has been so powerful about that experience.
Well, coming to Cedar Crest especially and being a student here, there's a real sisterhood of all the girls here.
Now we should say that Cedar Crest is a female, women-only college, which is a few and far between these days, but when you say sisterhood, you really do mean sisterhood.
I do.
Okay.
And I don't feel like I'm 44. It's very accepting. The faculty here is outstanding, and I get treated like every other student.
Because that's one of the things people feel sometimes when they go into, especially a college situation, they may feel that people are half their age, but you're saying you don't feel that. You feel that you're among people that are trying to learn, and age is not a factor.
I do. I feel younger because I
Wow.
come here.
Wow. And as you thought, and your husband and you had a conversation about reinventing yourself, how did that conversation go, if you don't mind sharing, to begin the process to look? I mean, a lot of times people want to hold on, especially when it's a family business, until the very, very end, and then sometimes they've destroyed so much by holding on. How did you and your husband decide that enough was enough and to begin to look at some other options for you and your husband and your family to consider? What was that like, and how did that all go?
For us, it was a very natural evolution. We did try to make it work together, and he's still there. He's still making it work.
That's
if
wonderful.
it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be here right
Wow.
now. And having his support means everything. I actually started at a community college, so it started with taking a class here and a class there.
And that's an important part, that there were some steps that you went. You didn't just walk through the door. You tried some stuff out to make sure it fit, and so, sorry, please continue.
Absolutely. That was very important, I think, because the terror of stepping into something unknown at this age was a little more higher anxiety level.
Sure.
So I did get my feet wet with a few classes here and a few classes there. And then when it came to the point where I really did have to get laid off, we seized that opportunity for me to come to school full time.
Wow. And when you think about the future, you want to be a teacher, but I get a sense from you that there's some leadership qualities that you have as well. Do we see a principal or a superintendent of schools in the future? What do you see as you look at going into this chapter of your life? What do you see as the outcome on the other side?
One of the reasons I chose political science and social studies, which makes my degree here political science, is to get involved in making policies that would enhance the students. So I think it's really important that we start from the ground up. And I think everybody feels like they can make a difference.
Are there any other people this journey has had an influence on that are part of your family or friends?
I think my daughter's really proud of me, and so is my son. My husband is very, very proud of me. It's difficult. My house is not as in order as I feel it should be. And I even have friends, longtime friends, who graduated college at a traditional age, who, now that I'm back in touch with them through social networking sites, they're real proud of me too, and they're very, very supportive.
Oh, good. As we get ready to wrap up, what would you want to share with our viewers if someone's sitting at home this evening and thinking about their situation and saying, you know, I've been wanting to do some things differently, and not that there is an urgency, it just their heart may lie someplace else differently than what they're doing now. What would you say to that viewer who's sitting and watching you and listening to your story about their decision that they have to make, that they may have put off for a long period of time?
Take a class. Take it for enjoyment. Find your passion. Find something that you feel you're driven towards, and then go forward from there. And don't be afraid. It's never too late. They're right when they say it's never too late.
Well, Lori, we're extremely proud of you. And we hope that you'll invite us back when it comes time for graduation, especially if there's food involved. We definitely show up for that. We want to wish you the very best. I'm sure you'll do just fine. All right?
Thank you.
Thanks, Lori. Thanks very much. We want to thank Lori for sharing her story with us. We're now going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to talk with two representatives from Right Management, so please stay with us.
Uniformnia is dedicated to giving you durable, comfortable, and high-quality school uniforms at prices your family can afford. Our online catalog is available 24 hours a day, providing top-notch customer service. We offer an extensive variety of colors and sizes for both boys and girls, from some of the largest uniform manufacturers within the United States. So visit us at www.uniformnia.com. Durable, comfortable, high-quality clothing for America's student.
Jamie is an active 12-year-old with a love of the outdoors. Although she's a little shy when meeting new people, she comes out of her shell when hiking and going to the zoo and playing sports. She is an avid admirer of Dora the Explorer, Tinkerbell, and all things pink. She excels in school and thrives on routine and stability. What she needs most is a loving, patient, committed, permanent family that will provide her with the same support and structured environment she currently has and to help her reach her potential. She should be the youngest or the only child in the family. Most of all, Jamie desires a family who will always be there for her. For adoption information, please access the National Adoption Center's website at adopt.org. And for specific information on Jamie, please contact acressman@adopt.org.
At Bridge to Creative Learning and Child Care Center, your child will learn and play the creative way in a safe and secure environment. We offer a fun and caring educational-based atmosphere and allow parents to monitor their child's activities. We are a state-licensed child care center offering academic preparation, after-school programs, creative learning, summer activities, and much more. Call us at 610-351-7400. Prepare your child for a brighter future.
Well, welcome back to the Navigating Your Life show. I'd like to welcome to our studio today two guests that we have. We have Anita Crick and Dave Oleski, who are joining us from Right Management. So welcome, Anita.
Thank you.
And welcome, Dave. So who wants to tell us about what is Right Management?
Well, I'll do that.
Right
Management is the leading career and HR consulting firm for manpower. We're actually a manpower company, and we work with people every day in transition as well as companies in transition.
Okay. And so what are some of the things, Dave, that you're giving them advice on? What are you working with people and companies that are trying to reinvent themselves? What are you telling them?
Well, I actually work with the career management side, and it's basically people who have lost their jobs through cutbacks, re-engineering, that sort of thing. And we train them on how to find their next step in their career path.
One thing I'd like for you to do, Dave, you can tell the people that let people go, if they could stop finding nice words for it. Re-engineering is the same thing as being fired, so by any other name, right?
Yeah.
But again, what are you telling some of those people? How are you helping them to reinvent themselves?
Trying to get them to avoid thinking too much about things that they might consider to be problems, because often the problems really aren't problems. People think about maybe age as a problem, and that there's ways around that. We try to train them on how to write a resume in a way that's going to really show them to their best light to the prospective employer.
And one of the things, I went to school for an MBA, and the concentration was in HR. And one of the things that you want to let people know is that sometimes they say things the person isn't even thinking about. Like they'll say, I know that I'm an older candidate, and the person wasn't even thinking about them as an older candidate. So I guess your advice is don't put things out there that are not going to be flattering to you.
Exactly.
If you feel that that's going to be an issue, stay away from it and use some other things to make it better. Good.
Yeah.
So,
And,
Anita,
and I
please.
was going to add to that, we tell people every day that your resume needs to reflect where you're going to go, not where you've been.
Well, that's an interesting point.
Yeah,
Anita.
and it's really critical that people, regardless of the reason why they're in transition, need to really identify their next steps. And it could be totally different than they were thinking.
Wow.
But if they identify themselves by their chronological history, then history will repeat itself and they may not be happy again.
I like to tell people when they come into our office that their future is like the back of my hand. They're right here, and each of these fingers is a different path that they may be able to take. And the idea is to explore as many of those as possible right now, rather than choose one, the path that they're familiar with, and then follow it, and only to discover that, gee, I really would have rather have done something else.
Very good. So what are some of the other kinds of things you're working with companies and people on in reinventing themselves?
Well, I think the huge concern and thought right now is talent matching. And in fact, the timing of this is interesting. We just completed a study with Manpower regarding trends in the world of work. And one of the largest trends is the talent mismatch that may occur and will occur probably even quicker than people think. So,
Well, so when you say talent mismatch,
well,
what do you mean by that?
Technology is changing so rapidly that the skill sets that companies need today is probably not going to be their skill sets for tomorrow. Meanwhile, you've got students that are learning something that may not be matching the future of what the companies are going to need. So it becomes even more critical for people to identify their value and their worth. And if they feel, or it is felt, that that's not their future, because it's not the future of work, then they need to re-educate, they need to retool, they need to rethink, and there's so many ways to do that. So,
And Anita, you bring up a really good point, is that I think a lot of us are sitting back and looking at individuals whose the current environment doesn't really match what they've done previously, and we're like, oh, that's not us. But if your research is going to prove true, we're going to find ourselves, 10, 15, 20, 30 years from now in the same situation, and the gap may be even bigger with the improvements in technology.
absolutely.
Right.
Wow.
David and I get to see a lot of people in different parts of their transition, and we see some wonderful reinventions. We've seen chemical engineers become chocolate makers. We have seen, I saw a controller of a company become a management recruiter. Wow. We've seen people that you would never believe would become nurses, become nursing students. And so we see people really taking to heart what we're saying, but more importantly, they're taking that leap and saying, I can do this. And it really is an incredible journey that we watch them.
Some people take a huge leap. They'll go and they'll move from the corporate life into an area where they may buy a franchise, or they may buy a business, or they start their own business, or become a consultant. And that's really rewarding.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good. As we get ready to wrap up, I want to give you the chance, Anita and Dave, to share any closing thoughts that you have.
Mine would be to really not be afraid, to really explore all those wonderful things that you thought you wanted to do. Don't think they're not attainable, because they could be.
Wow.
Yeah.
And Dave,
And I would just echo the same thing.
you've learned. You don't. Whatever Anita says. Well, Anita, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Our pleasure.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
Good. We have to stop now for a brief commercial break, and when we come back, we'll have a conversation with a life coach who's going to help us map out some directions for the future. So please stay with us.
You choose your doctor. You choose your pharmacy. Why shouldn't you choose your in-home healthcare provider? The good news is you can and you should. When your hospital or doctor prescribes home care, Alan Lear Home Care Associates will work with you in the comfort of your own home, providing a full range of services. Our nurses are dedicated professionals that take the time to get to know you and help you return to your optimal health. Call Alan Lear Home Care Associates, caring for you when you need us most.
Enrich your life at Sacred Heart Villa, situated atop Mount St. Michael on 40-plus scenic acres. Our caring staff includes missionary sisters and on-site licensed nurses 24/7. We offer medical reminders as well as dispensing medication and transportation to medical appointments. With excellent food, fun events, a spacious hall, safe rooms, and much more, your life will be enriched. Call 610-929-5751 or go to sacredheartvilla-readingpa.org.
So we want to share with our viewers every so often events that are going on in their community. And we have one such event that we want to share with you. We have with us Michael Tampty-Haran, who's going to talk about an event. So Michael, please share with our viewers what that event is.
Sure. The event is presented by Cantatica, the Cantatica Chamber Ensemble, professional instrumentalists and vocalists. And the event is I Hear America Singing the Blues,
Wow.
More specifically the gospel blues.
Wow.
It's going to be a program, as all of our programs are, that mix up different styles of music. We're going to have some rarely heard work songs, changing songs, performed by male vocal quartet, a cappella with some changing sounds.
Wow.
And we're going to have some beautiful spirituals by a young, rising operatic soprano. Her name is Toni Marie Palmerton. And we're going to have some gospel music, some blues. We're going to have some Ricky Ian Gordon songs. I don't know if you're familiar with him, but he's a very popular composer of musicals and operas, and he loves Langston Hughes poetry.
Wow.
And so he's set to music some songs, and our Marie will be singing some of those.
Wonderful.
And then also on the program, we're going to end with a little gospel choir.
Wonderful.
So
That's wonderful. And it seems like a wonderful event, and so we hope our viewers will take time on June 13th. What time does it start?
it starts at 4:00
Okay.
p.m.
So thanks so much for coming in, Michael.
Thank you.
Best of luck.
Ready for some fun? FunWorks assists individuals with and without disabilities to participate in community activities. These activities are provided in small settings for 1 to 8 individuals with at least 1 to 2 direct support professionals. We visit places like Dollywood, Willow Valley Inn, Phillies Games, Iron Pigs Games, the Lehigh Valley Zoo, and more. Let us know your dream trip. Our staff is dedicated to ensuring your dream activities come true. For more information, call 888-966-9466 or visit funworksinc.org.
Welcome back to the Navigating Your Life show. We're now joined in studio by Lisa Monahan, who's a life coach.
Hi, Nat.
So welcome, Lisa. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks
so
for having me.
Tell us what a life coach is.
A life coach is someone who teaches someone how to step into their power, how to live the life of their dreams, how to go for whatever it is that they may want to do.
Sure.
A lot of times most people find themselves stuck and they don't really pursue what they want to do, but we help them to get past those places where they're stuck and move on to their dreams.
Good. You said something about stepping into their power. What do you mean by that?
Well, for me, it's all about teaching people how to be empowered. A lot of times people live their lives in fear or afraid of rejection, afraid of failure. So we really help them to come around all of those fears so that they can do what they want to do.
Good. And our focus of our today's show is on reinventing ourselves later in life. People have found themselves needing to transition to other fields because of the economy, because of jobs that have been relocated. So if you're trying to provide advice to someone who's reinventing themselves later in life, after possibly having one career and having to look at something different, what are some of the kinds of things you would share with them as a way to get ready to make that transition?
Well, one of the first things that I would do is help them to reframe the way they think about it, because a lot of times when someone gets laid off, they think that's a horrible thing. And to me, that's the universe's way of kind of gently nudging you that you weren't happy, it's time to move on. It's funny you asked me that. I spent 25 years in an engineering background, and now later in life I find myself doing something totally different, but I love what I do every single day. And I used to say, if you're not skipping out of bed in the morning to do what you want to do, then you want to check in with it.
So sometimes we take, these things that happen in our life as an indication of us as a person, that sometimes because the job, or the firm may have changed or the job may have changed, we take that as sometimes that we failed or we did something wrong. And what you're saying is that's not the way we're supposed to frame that event.
Exactly. We look at it as a failure, or they got rid of us, or we're too old, that kind of thing, when it's really the universe's way of saying, look another way, look over here, we've got something better for you. And as you live through life and you live in the contrast, you really get clear on what you want. But then most of the time we won't let ourselves go there. Financial issues, you're paying for your children or whatever, so you think you can't do it. But when it happens to you in that way, you have no choice but to do it.
And so one of the tips I think you would give is that you got to give yourself permission to now reframe and to walk toward the things that really matter to you in your life. Would you agree?
Absolutely. And giving yourself permission is a big deal because most of the time in life we don't do that. We tend to keep ourselves stuck, or we live in the fears of, most of the times from when we're 5 years old, we've developed these belief systems about ourselves. So I really help people to let go of those belief systems so that they can move on.
And we live very much in a permission-based society. You know, example, when I became a doctor, I needed 5 other people to agree that I met the qualifications to be a doctor. And so often, if those 5 people don't think we're ready, we take that as an indication that we need to stop. And so again, whether it's in school at 6 years old, in order to be recognized, you have to raise your hand. So we've lived in a society for quite a number of years that has had permission and waiting for permission as the basis. And if I hear you correctly, that if you're trying to reinvent yourself, you really can't sit around and wait for that permission.
No, what you really want to do is give yourself permission. And that's where, again, most people get held up or held back because they are looking for that permission from a spouse or parents or a job to say you're okay, when what I teach people is to know that they're okay and love themselves anyway. And then that's fully being in your power. When you truly love yourself, no matter what happens, you're willing to take risks and do things in a new way.
So when you say love yourself, what do you mean by that?
Well, most of us don't really love ourselves very much. We go through life and, like you said, the kindergarten teacher waiting for the A, or the kid who brings home the report card to their dad and they've got all A's and 1 B and the dad says, wow, you could have done better. We literally are living that vibration as we get older. So at this point in time, you get to let go of that. You get to say, no more. I'm going to do my own thing. And it doesn't matter who likes it or who doesn't. But that gets a little tricky when you're older and you have family.
Sure. And how do you know, how could you tell if a person loves themselves?
They radiate it. They're happy. They have that je ne sais quoi, that light in their eyes. You can tell it. And it's interesting because when I looked at your website, it's the first thing I thought when I saw you, that you had it.
Oh, really? I didn't know I had it. So
well, you do have it. It's a look in your eyes. It's just a knowing. It's a comfortableness with yourself. It doesn't mean you always do everything right.
Sure.
It doesn't mean you're perfect. But it means you love yourself anyway.
Wow. And how do you begin the process? A lot of times people hear about self-help things and they think it makes sense, but if you were giving some advice to our viewers, what is the first thing that they could do to just begin this journey of reinventing themselves and just taking better care of themselves, loving themselves? What could they do as a first, I heard you earlier, give yourself permission, but what are some of the other steps that a person can take so they're not hearing this in idleness, they're really going to do something with the information you're sharing?
Well, the first thing I would do is tell people to start to change their thoughts. Listen to your self-talk. We're brutal to ourselves. We're not very nice to ourselves. So you want to start to catch that, and you want to start to reframe and use different language when you speak about yourself and others. You want to learn acceptance. A big thing is learning to let go of judgment. As you judge others, you're really judging yourself. When you learn to let go of the judgment of other people, what you really find is you can let go of the judgment of yourself. And then I really teach people the laws of the universe, but there's a lot of laws that affect us, like the law of attraction, and most people aren't aware of them. So they kind of work against them instead of with them. So one of the things I really do is teach people, educate them on that so that they can start to work with the universe instead of against it.
And one of the things that your comments, Lisa, bring to mind is that for a lot of us, we've had challenging life events, and that was like one day in our life. But because we struggle with it, we've given sometimes hundreds, if not thousands of days of misery in addition to that one day. And I think your point is we don't have to live like that any longer if we just allow ourselves to take some of these important steps to reinvent ourselves, but also to take better care of ourselves.
Well, one of the things I like to teach my clients is choice, because honestly, by the time we get to be our ages, we don't think we have a choice. We think we have to live life the way we did or the way we've always done it. So when I start to tell people that you have a choice and you can do things, you can choose to love yourself, you can choose a job that you like, it's pretty mind-blowing for most people because they're really stuck in that pattern of what they've grown up with.
Wow. Good. And as you say, it's such a beautiful day. I can see some of us, recognizing maybe we just need to put that mop down, put that dish rag down, and just, go and sit on the porch and just look at this, look at the stars and enjoy the night, and just understand that sometimes we just don't take some time to really enjoy what life has to offer.
And a lot of times we've been taught that. We've been taught to feel guilty for relaxing or taking care of ourselves. But I tell all my parents and everybody really, until you're 100% full, and the only way you get that way is to take care of yourself first, then what you give everybody else isn't the best of you. But when you take care of yourself and you're 100% full, then what you give everybody else is fantastic stuff.
Lisa, thank you so much for joining us today. You're going to stay with us for a few more minutes and we'll wrap up. So we're going to now take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll wrap up today's show. So please stay with us.
In these challenging times, your organization needs employees that maximize results. HumanWorks Training and Educational Services provides results-focused seminars for your staff. Topics include management and motivating employees, stress management, team building and leadership skills, and cultural diversity. Register today, just $89.99 or $75 for chamber members. Call 484-893-5057 or visit hwtes.com.
It's about changing the world in which we live.
It's about playing, living, and working together.
It's about escaping from special programs.
It's about finding leadership.
And social justice.
The Pennsylvania Developmental Disabilities Council believes that disability is a natural part of the human condition.
We are working to create a commonwealth where all people thrive in shared citizenship.
And everybody wins.
Explore Dr. Nat Williams' Absolutes of Success book series featuring The Navigator of Life, The Mature 64, Living Life 8x8, Management and Leadership by the 3 Ps, The Affordability Factor, The 4 C's of Change, Embracing Your Real Life, and the Absolutes of Success series workbook, Maximizing Your Greatest Potential to Achieve Your Personal Best. All books available at drnatwilliams.com or amazon.com.
Thanks for coming back. I hope today's show has been enlightening, encouraging, and empowering for you. There are many reasons why we may want to reinvent our lives, whether it's a move across the country, a career change, or even a complete life makeover. Reinventing our lives is possible at any age in life. As we wrap up today's show, we want to let you know we're looking forward to having you join us next week when we will have the topic of spiritual centers on the move. Until then, I want you to be well, and thank you for joining us.
A list of resources related to today's show is available on our website, which is navigatingyourlifeshow.com. On this site, there is a connection to our Facebook and Twitter pages and to our blog. While you are there, you can also email your comments on today's show or share ideas for future shows.